G'day, it's Fran Davidson from psychicandenergywork.com.au, and this is part 3 of my monthly observations for October 2025. If you go through to the website, to the monthly observations page, you'll be able to read a bit more about the MOs for this month. The MO is derived from the name of the month, on a generic level. On a specific level, it's derived through adding the name of the month with the name of the year, October 2025. And this month we see, as usual, 2 MOs, the generic being another 10-1 and the specific one being 33-6, or vice versa, I think. Anyway, what these 2 vibes tell us is that, first of all, the 10-1 elements this month are threefold. 3 master numbers that are all the same tell you that there's going to be a whole lot of magnification. Now, bear with me. Sometimes I forget to mention that master numbers can bring amazingly affirming, rewarding, reinforcing, delightful times. 1 in that sense is very much you're brilliant. You're amazing. You can do it. You're going really well. Go and share everything you know with others in a really sort of affirming, complete, whole way. So 1 can be a very empowering time, and inevitably, even if it is first challenging, which often it can be in a master number period, but even if that's the case, ultimately, the reason why life is doing that to you is to get you to that eureka and celebratory moment. So what I'd like to do in this video, though, is focus in a little bit more on the 33-6. Now, again, I talk about that in the monthly observations on the website. What I don't mention there is how 3 is very much a time that, yes, wants expression, but therefore wants you daring to express yourself. Now, that's a really interesting statement, because at first we can interpret that as being go and talk to everybody, go and talk at everybody, go and share everything you're thinking and feeling. And of course, that's not always the wisest of moves, depending on your audience. So, as with all, you could say, spiritual living, if that's the way to say it, life asks us to know where we're at before we share it. That doesn't mean withhold in an exclusive or a damaging way, but it just means, you know what, check your perspectives before you go live. And that, of course, makes sense. 33-6 can be a time that really wants you expressing. Now, I say that because, 3 wants you doing that. A 33, even though it's only 2, 33 can bring in a whole lot of invisible stuff, a whole lot of universal encouragement, cornering, shall we say, forcing, for you to express yourself as you're really needing to right now. Sometimes that can just mean speak up in a way that everybody just gels with, accepts, and goes, yeah, that's obvious. At other times, of course, expression can be more about problem solving, challenging what's going on, not in a negative sense, but just having the guts to say, you know what, that isn't quite right. That doesn't necessarily mean I've got the answer, but it's not quite right as an overall, as a universally beneficial zone or solution or strategy. 33-6 can ask us, yes, very much to do that with other people, but it asks us to do it with ourselves first. And within that, therefore, 33-6 as a zone, as a dynamic, asks an individual to be very comfortable processing to the depth, to the core. Implicit in that can be the need to get in touch with our emotions, our fears, our hesitations, our traumas, our guilts, our shames, our doubts. And of course, egoic self in any of us likes to take a wide berth on any of those subjects on a reasonably regular basis. But here, this is where understanding release work for what it really is really pays dividends. Because at the end of the day, expression is just expression. We can put so much importance on getting it right that we squash it before we start. If we know that healing is about the release of stuff that is always imbalanced, doesn't mean it's totally wrong, doesn't mean we need to reject it in a negative level. It just means, you know what, there's more than that. There's more wisdom than that. There's a bigger picture than that. There's also more balance or feeling of rightness within it. Once we know that healing and release work, expression is that, we can move from fearing expression to actually celebrating it. Because, of course, that level of expression requires us all to enter the room knowing that we might be right, but we could also be wrong. And we're probably going to be a bit of both. So who really cares? So let's actually leave the ego outside the room. Let's actually put the issues just to one side, not because we dismiss or ignore them, but because we actually go, you know what, that is a valid issue, but maybe it's an issue because I haven't heard everything yet. And probably it's an issue because I haven't yet sat down with that person and worked it through with them specifically and uniquely enough yet for us both to come to agreement, balance, unity, embrace, acceptance. Now, of course, one has to be willing to do this, and of course not everybody is. So 33.6 is not a period that is about making yourself a doormat. It's not a period that is about, okay, open yourself up in a way that is vulnerable to egoic self in its extreme, the sort of presentations that can be dismissive and hurtful, abusive even. No spiritual communication, no spiritual offering needs to position itself in a way that it is lesser than or damaging to the self that is honouring it. But in one sense, 33.6 is a place that is about be willing to express everything to yourself first. Because often by doing that, we blow the cappuccino froth off the coffee and therefore help ourselves get to the root causes of what's going on, even before we open our mouths in front of other people. This is where energy work turns into miracle work. Not because we can manipulate it, because at the end of the day, spiritual existence isn't a place of manipulation. That doesn't mean we can't effect change or effect growth or flow or success or any of those good things that we can all really look forward to and want, really. But it does mean that expression is a place where we should not seek to be right first. It should be a place where we are willing to air everything, to even get a sense of its rightness, its value, its worth, and also its place in the greater scheme. Through 33, we come to 6. So through that willingness, the dare, the bravery, the courage to get into whatever you're needing to get off your chest right now, to yourself first. To yourself and the universe. So this is a really important point too, because sometimes people quite willingly process their stuff, but they do it in a way that they sort of frame that unknowingly as an alone experience. The minute we leave the universe out of our processing and out of our release work and development, we have just halved, figuratively speaking, the amount of help that wants to come through and is already available and ready and wanting to assist us, if only we allow it through. So the trick with release work is to always let divine energies be present. If I could, I'd qualify that and even go further. Always let the divine be present. Why? Because if you allow for multiple energies, you can allow for multiple layers of influence. That doesn't necessarily mean bad stuff, but the more singular you are as a focus, knowing that at the end of the day, there is always the highest point. If you focus, or not even focus, if you allow yourself to know that all you're wanting is the highest and purest of wisdom, assistance, guidance, result, outcome for you and everybody, then that level of guidance will well and truly flow in if you give it the room. So when you're doing your release work, do it with that energy already with you. Hello, I know you're real, I let you in. Always let it be an up energy, not just an around energy. Always let it be as wise can be, in a way that it always has more. It can always give more, because the more intelligence, the more power you give that energy, the more room you allow for that sort of influence, assistance, and intuitive mentoring to come through. In closing, again, 33 leads to 6. 6 is balance. 6 is goodness. 6 is health. 6 is genuineness. 6 is love. 6 is inclusion. 6 is giving and receiving as a lived, exchanged, felt, received experience. So through double expression this month, and also through those 10 ones, getting in touch with yourself, letting go of all limits, daring to actually be you to yourself first in a way that you can accept that. Use this month to really step into these dynamics and allow them in private, in safety, so as even to connect with that level of guidance that is there for you in every moment, however you're performing, no matter where you are, if only you breathe, let go, and allow it to exist. All the very best to you for October. It's going to be potent, hopefully in a really rewarding way. Thanks for tuning in. Get in contact via the website if you wish to. And certainly at this point, go through to part 4 of my monthly observations for October 2025. Travel well. Take care.